All right, race fans, we are back. Another week of racing action in the books. And guys, we're getting to this time of the year where, it's nonstop. We're looking at our pick'ems here over the last 2 weeks. Every single day, 7 days a week that we're picking a race, 2 straight weeks in a row. I like racing a lot, right? I would say I love racing, but holy shit, that is just way too much. That's to me, that's just way too much. But we're going to talk racing here this week, episode 259, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. We're going to start with this. So, if you're in the market for health insurance, if you pay for your own, if you have a family, if you're single, if you're a couple, if you have a small business, if you got a business under 50 employees and you're covering your employees, or maybe you have some employees that want insurance, look no further. Impact Health Sharing has been a great alternative to massively overpriced health insurance in this country. You can go to any provider. You're looking at pricing right around $600 a month for a family. Deductibles, get this, $2,500 combined family deductible. And I just talked to somebody the other day. They're like, $9,000 deductible for my family, $1,500 a month. I'm like, holy shit, right? So we're cutting that in over half. So that's a lot of money you can keep in your pockets and go to any provider you want, take that extra money, buy Chonga a race car. Okay, he misses it. Buy Chonga a race car. And if you don't want to buy Chonga a race car, spend it on something racing related, because that's more fun than spending on health insurance, I promise. So hit me up, 218-969-1380. I can get you a very quick, no obligation quote, pass you along some information so you can look it over, answer any questions you have, and see if we can help you save some money on your health insurance products. That's Impact Health Sharing. So, as always, we have the former editor of Full Throttle Magazine, a racing historian, I guess a lifelong traveler to the high-flying half-mile Shawano Speedway, Bert Lehman in the house. Bert, how you been, man? How's things going?
Things are going good. It's been very hot here in the last few days. It's gotten up into the high 70s, low 80s, and it seems like we go from 50s to 80s, and there's no in between. But it's supposed to cool down for the next week and a half.
Yeah, I'd rather have hot than frigid cold. I can tell you this. I was looking at the forecast up in northern Minnesota. They're calling for snow this weekend, nothing accumulating, but there's a chance of snow Saturday up in the Hibbing area. So I'll take that 80-degree weather over snow all day long, twice on Sunday. I promise that shit's overrated. And I tell you what, the air quality from all them fires up there is absolutely awful. It's been bugging the heck out of me with my allergies. I've been having a heck of a cough here the last day. So speaking of that, we got the former track champion of the Pier Stocks over at the Proctor Speedway, multi-time national championship crew chief. We got Chonga in the house. Chonga, how's the air quality up there in Superior, Wisconsin?
Well, believe it or not, we actually just looked on the Weather Channel. It says air quality is good.
Oh,
I'm standing out on my deck. I can't tell if it's fog or smoke or what the hell's blowing through here, but I can hear the noise of race cars practicing over at the Gondik Law Speedway.
finally getting some laps at that place. Forecast doesn't look good for Friday. Good to be getting some laps on that track over in Superior, Wisconsin. Now, Bert, I'm gonna make sure this is very clear. Just because he currently resides in Superior, Wisconsin, in no way, shape, or form does that make him a Wisconsin sports fan. Okay, he's a diehard Minnesota sports fan. Just like me, we do not like Wisconsin sports. I just don't want anybody mistaking him for a Wisconsin fan just because he lives in Superior. He really lives in South Duluth. Would you say that's valid, Chonga?
Well, maybe what I would say is I'm a dual citizen. My life is in Minnesota, but my home resides in South Duluth.
We'll call it South Duluth. We're going to go with that.
It's North Superior. It just lands on the wrong side of the lake for some reason. I don't know.
For sure. And as always, Ryan Aho here. So glad to be bringing you episode 259. Bert, you had a comment on that.
Well, I was just going to say, for those of you who have been wondering, I have been feeling much, much better over the last couple of weeks, and I think I'm finally turned the corner on this Lyme disease thing. So I'm feeling much better, and hopefully it's all forward now.
There you go, ladies. Single guy right there. No longer has that cough and all that stuff going on. So now's the time. Pounce on Bert Lehman. Hit him up on Facebook. I'm not going to share his number on here. Actually, I will. No, just kidding, Bert. I won't do that to you. All right. So here we go. So Bert, let's talk some local racing. Let's talk our own personal interaction. Chonga did not make it to a race yet because nothing's really happened up in the North Country. Did you go to Shawano this past week, Bert?
I did not, because the Lions Club that I belong to, we had our spring steak fry, and oh my goodness, was that busy. So we served 147 steak meals, and I think it was 13 hamburger meals. They think it's the second largest um attendance for that event ever in the line since they've hosted that. So I was running around delivering steaks on Saturday night.
Attaboy, attaboy. Now, I know you did jump on and watch that absolutely diabolical, massive, exciting late model feature at Shawano. Bert, I got to be honest with you, right? I'm a little concerned. Right? I get it. A couple of the regulars maybe headed over to a Challenge Series stuff, right? 4 late models, 4. Shawano is the most, in my mind. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, right? But as an outsider, Shawano's the most iconic late model track in the area, right? I mean, Seymour is good. Plymouth has some good races. But when I think late model racing, Eastern Wisconsin, Shawano's the first track that comes to mind, right?
Yeah, well,
4 cars, 4.
I mean, you said you're a little concerned. I'm not a little concerned. I'm a lot concerned. I've been saying this, over the off season, that the late model division in Eastern Wisconsin is kind of at a crossroad. Well, not kind of. It is at a crossroads right now. I mean, Shawano had 11 late models opening weekend. Then last weekend they had 4. Now 3 of them were Wasota Challenge Series racing. Well, actually one of them, because I mean, Todd Frank raced the opening weekend, but his son did not race at Shawano opening weekend. And then Joe Bennett, he was racing in the Wasota Challenge Series last weekend. And Plymouth had their Super 6 Series late models racing Saturday night, but only one, from what I saw, only one car that raced at Shawano opening week was at Plymouth last week, and that was Nick Anvelink. I'm not exactly sure where the other drivers were. I had heard one was sick, one was at a wedding, and I'm not sure about the others, but Seymour, the Outagamie Speedway in Seymour, they raced Friday night. I didn't go, but I did watch that feature. They had 17 late models there.
Who won? Who won at Seymour?
Taylor Scheffler.
Who won at Plymouth?
Mike Mullen.
Okay. Okay.
The Seymour race was caution free, and Scheffler started on the pole. I think Nick started in the 3rd row, and Nick was gaining on him, and on the last lap, he made a charge, and Taylor Scheffler won by about a car length. And then Mike Mullen won the feature at Plymouth, and Andy Carl won the 3-lap feature at Shawano on Saturday night.
3 lap or 3 car?
I mean, 3 car. And I guess
I'm like,
Shawano pays $1,000 to win weekly for late model racing, but I guess they had a drivers meeting with the late model drivers, and all the drivers were paid the same. I had heard it was each driver got $300. So
That's brutal.
that's tough. And here's the deal. So Barry Braun shaking things up over in Hibbing, right? I mean, he's taken over the promoter duties, and one of the first things he said is, right, some of the late model guys said they're probably not going to race Hibbing because they're going to maybe do some different stuff. There's a little politicking going on there, but he said we're not running late models every week. Grand Rapids runs them about half the time as well. Most tracks throughout Minnesota, Wisconsin do not have late models. They just simply do not have the class. Is it time for Shawano to kind of look at the schedule and say, look, here's the deal. We're going to look at all the area schedules around, and instead of having them on a weekly basis, let's maybe pay a little bit better and run them 10 nights during the year and just give them a higher quality payout and see if we can get 20 cars. Don't compete. Literally talk to Plymouth, because they have what Super 6 is 6 races, right? That's what that is. So don't even have late models on the night that they have them, and work together with them and say, look, let's have a Super 12.
Oh yeah.
Jeez. And work together, maybe get Seymour involved. They already have the Dirt Kings deal over there, but it's obviously what they're doing right now is not working.
Yeah, I mean,
And
there was a good discussion on Facebook this week about what Shawano should do with late models, and I mean, I guess Shawano has different rules than Dirt Kings does, where Plymouth has the same rules as Dirt Kings. So some people are suggesting that Shawano should have the same rules as, which I think you're correct. I think Plymouth, Shawano, and Seymour, and I would get Dirt Kings in because Dirt Kings schedules at least 2, if not 3 races against Shawano during the season. I think they all need to sit down in a room and figure out rules and figure out scheduling. And unfortunately, I think you're right. The time may have come where you can't race weekly late models at Shawano.
let me ask you this. How'd the track hold up? I know they did a whole bunch of track work this past week. Did the track hold together pretty good?
From what I heard, it got rough, but not as bad as what some people had feared. And maybe that's the reason that some drivers didn't show up too. They were afraid that the track was going to be really, really rough, and they didn't want to bend up their equipment. So but my understanding was it did get rough in spots, but it wasn't too bad. And the Speedway posted early this week that they got another 20 loads of clay. They added 18 more loads to the track in areas where they felt it needed it. And then the other 2 loads are in the infield in case they need it in an emergency to fix an area of the track.
Okay. So that could have been the deal. That could have been part of it for sure. That maybe kept a few people home going, brand new clay, not even really a lot of time to work it in. Let's see how this works out. Hopefully that's the case, but definitely something to keep an eye on over there at Shawano. Now, I went up north this past weekend, no racing going on, and Changa, would you believe this? I did not go racing, but I went fishing twice. Hey, the nephew said, Uncle Ryan, will you take me down to the lake and go fishing with me? You got to, right? You got to. So I went down to the lake. I brought him down there. He had a hell of a good time. He caught more fish than me. I broke more lines than him, right? So, I mean, it was just kind of a bad deal, but we had a lot of fun. I went up, visited mom for Mother's Day, played some golf. But my dad and we did stop over at the Hibbing Speedway up there because, I mean, it's literally 6 miles from my home stomping grounds. It's like, I'm going to check out what's going on, right? I'm going to stop in there. And I walked into the place. I'm like, oh boy, this is a dumpster fire, right? Because it's hard to tell, right? When you just show up, you kind of look at where they're at in the project, but you can't really see the full vision for what it is. All you can see is what's going on. And when I first saw it, I'm like, there is no way in hell they're racing before mid-June. There's no way. But they've been working on it steady. The weather has been cooperating. Supposed to get a little bit of moisture the next couple of days. Probably going to help the matter. But Bert, they actually had, how they pitted in the infield for years at Shawano. Well, they did in Hibbing years back too. It used to be flat. Well, over the last several years, the track got lower, the infield got higher, and now it's several feet above the track. So when the rain comes down, it puddles up on the bottom. You got to pump it out. They landscaped the whole infield, flattened out the whole infield. They pushed all that material out onto the racetrack. And for some reason, turn 1 and 2 used to be like 20 feet narrower than 3 and 4. Don't know how that happened, when that happened, why that happened, but essentially, and then it really got like excessively banked in his opinion. So they took a whole bunch of banking out of 1 and 2, made it way wider. So now the track's way wider all the way around. In theory, that should provide for better racing. They got the catch fence, the poles up. They're doing a lot of work over there. They got the pits. The pits and the road for Victory Lane they got all the millings laid down. I don't know the process. I know they've been out rolling it, so it's got to pack in, but he's pretty optimistic. He seems to believe that they are on track to open up in a couple weeks. Now, we all know I had a bold prediction. They ain't racing until June, so we'll see what happens, but it's one of those deals where they're hard at it. And as a race fan and somebody that's been going to the Hibbing Raceway my whole life, I'm hearing a lot of people. I got a lot of friends up in the area, and some of them are jacked up. They're excited to see what happens. Change is good. It needed change. Some things needed to happen. There's another group of people up there. This fucking guy ain't going to pay nobody and this and that and the other. And it's like, you got to tone that shit down, right? I mean, if you love the Hibbing Raceway and that's considered your home track, and you got to give the guy a chance, right? I mean, every one of us, anytime change comes in, every single person on planet Earth is like, I'm a little skeptical here. I don't know, right? But what good does it do to indict somebody before they've even had an opportunity to prove themselves, right? Give the guy an opportunity, get the track done, get it in working order, get some things rolling. Yeah, I mean, you got to give it a year. It's like bringing a new coach in for an NFL team. You can't tell shit after year one. Give the guy a year to figure out what's going on. They're bringing in new management at the Hibbing Speedway. Got to give the guy some time. And hey, I got to give condolences too, because he's getting dumped on a lot. But a couple of days back, Barry Braun's dad passed away as well, just to add more to what's already going on. So, thoughts and prayers to Barry and his family and all their friends. That's a tough deal. I mean, losing anybody that you love, Changa, I mean, you can relate. You've lost a parent. I fortunately have not yet, Bert. I don't know if you did, right, Bert?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's obviously, I can't speak on that, but I have a hard time when I lose a cat or a dog, right? So losing a parent's got to be a tough deal. So that's a tough deal. And guess what? He's pushing forward because he still knows work's got to get done. And, obviously I hopefully take some time off to mourn for that deal, but that's a tough deal. But progress being made up there in Hibbing. Another thing I did. So you want to hear how stupid race car drivers are? Okay. Do you want to know Bert, do you want to know how stupid race car drivers are?
I would love to.
Here's how stupid race car drivers are. Okay. I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm going to point at them. Okay. This guy, right? Dumbass. I had a storage unit. Now, I haven't lived up there since 2015, right? 10 years. 10 years I've been gone from the hometown of Chisholm. Well, I got a storage unit up there, and I put mostly the storage unit, I had like several pallets of just trophies, racing memorabilia, some big checks, some stuff like that, right? Bert, I've been paying $100 a month for 10 years to store my trophies that cost me a shit ton of money in the first place to even get. And I've literally been paying for a storage unit literally only for that. That's the definition of stupidity. That is literally over $10,000 that I paid over the last decade to store my old trophies. Well, I finally smartened up a little bit. I got myself one of those shipping containers, and I got everything moved out. My nephew helped me with that. My dad helped me. We moved everything out, and I'm like, all right, got all the trophies moved. So now I'm no longer paying to store my trophies. I mean, I ain't raced in 10 years, right? And I'm still paying how dumb am I? I mean, unbelievable. Y'all don't need to answer that. You don't need to put in the comments. I already know. I already understand. All right. So that was my job for this past weekend. So what do you say we get a little spicy to start this thing off? Maybe start with a donkey of the week. What do you think? We start with a donkey. Bert, I think we're due, right, for a donkey award. We ain't had one in a little while. So the Donkey Award, though, brought to you by our friend Brad Parsons Soil and Egg Solution. Now, understand, he ain't a donkey. Now, if you don't at least give him a call to figure out, what products he has to offer for your farming, you might be a donkey. Give him a call, find out. But if you're in Western Minnesota, the Dakotas, and you're looking to be more profitable, just like tire dope, you got to have the right stuff on those, the right chemical composition, right? So have the right stuff in those spray packages, give you better yield, make you more money. Give Brad a call, 320-219-3542, to learn about all the great products that he has to offer. Get the data points and see if it's something that can help you. Now, Donkey of the Week, welcome back, WISSOTA Auto Racing. We sure missed you. WISSOTA Scheduling Director, Donkey of the Week. Now, Bert, okay, we've talked about this many times over the last 5 years doing this show, that these people with scheduling are just brain dead. It's like nobody can work together. WISSOTA actually has rules in place, guidelines in place, basically to protect yourself from yourself, okay? Well, we already talked a little while back about the Casino Speedway scheduling a tri-state late model show against the Howie Shill Memorial, just 100 miles up the road, right? We've already talked about that, a couple hours up the road. Quite honestly, I like the Tri-State Series. I think it's a good series. According to the way the rules are written, right? The contract's written, no track in WISSOTA should even be allowed to have a tri-state race. That is a direct competition to WISSOTA. That's a direct competition. WISSOTA cars compete, win those races, shouldn't even be able to have one as per the contract. We talked about the Challenge Series, right? Scheduling against the Mater. The closest track, Ogilvie, hour away, scheduling against the Dwayne Mater Memorial. Dumb. But get this, you got this small track out in central South Dakota, Bert, Miller Central Speedway. Car counts on a regular basis, I don't know, what would you say, Changa? About 10 of everything is pretty much normal over there, 10, 12.
Oh.
Most of their cars, Bert, they get a few from Miller, a few from the Huron area, but the bulk of their cars come down from Aberdeen. That's where they get a lot of their cars from. Miller typically runs Saturdays. Miller runs Saturdays. Aberdeen, Brown County Speedway, runs Friday. This past weekend, Miller had a doubleheader Friday and Saturday and literally raced against Aberdeen. Raced against them. Unfreaking believable. How that's even a thing is beyond me. And looking at the car counts here, right? Modifieds, okay? Friday. How many modifieds do you suppose Miller had on Friday? Any guesses, Bert? 10. Over and under. 10. You think it was 10?
Under.
They had 4. Bert, they had 4. Miller on Friday, 6 super stocks, right? They had 29 cars in 5 classes. Now, here's the deal. It's within the rules that they're allowed to. It's over 100 miles away from Brown County Speedway. I think it's just over 100. So as per the contract, they're allowed to have that show. But if you're the scheduling director of WISSOTA, don't you think you'd have a phone call and be like, what are you doing? Why on earth would you literally run against your neighboring track? You're telling me that you couldn't find a freaking weekend? There's weekends that Brown County does not even race. They take off for the fair. There's weekends they have off. You couldn't have had the doubleheader on a different weekend? So, I mean, why are they allowing that? Buffalo River Speedway up in Glendon, Minnesota. Saturday, Sunday. WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series, right? Was at I-94 on Friday, Viking Speedway Saturday, and then over at the Granite City Motor Park on Sunday. Okay. Now, Devil's Lake, they scheduled their opener. They ran in Devil's Lake, but that was outside the miles radius. That was on Saturday. The mile radius, Bert, for a late model show in WISSOTA to be able to have a show is 150 miles. Buffalo River, 95 miles away from Viking Speedway. And they raced late models against both against Devil's Lake and against Viking Speedway. Okay. Well, they realized, holy shit, that's a mistake. Now, in the contract, get this, it literally says in the contract that a WISSOTA track is not allowed to run WISSOTA classes non-sanctioned throughout the season. They cannot do that. Otherwise, you'd have everybody and their brother going, screw it, we're going to run whenever we want. We'll just run non-sanctioned. WISSOTA actually called and said, you know what, just go ahead and run non-sanctioned. They don't even follow their own fucking rules. It's unbelievable, right? You take a track like Viking Speedway, they're trying to host a Challenge Series show. That's an expensive show. They had a good turnout. They had a really good crowd. Show went just fine. But there was cars racing at Buffalo River that 1,000% would have been racing at both Devil's Lake or they would have been racing at the Viking Speedway. Yet WISSOTA just, you go ahead and do what you want. We talked about Granite City last year. They weren't allowed to race late models at the Punky, right? Because it was literally within just a couple miles of that 150 miles. It was just a couple miles over or just a couple miles under, and they would not allow it. Well, how come they let one track and then not the other, and then they let this? I mean, no consistency. They got to get their shit together. And I get it. The former one quit. Now they got a person that's literally doesn't even spend time at the office for the most part, kind of just doing whatever she does, right? This is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Pretty soon it's just going to be a free-for-all. Just get rid of all the rules altogether, and everybody just race whenever they want. They can all be like Shawano, have 4-car late model races, call it good. Chongo, when you saw this, I mean, what was the first thing that went through your head when you saw that they were doing this?
Well, the first thing that goes through my head is obviously, okay, so I'm a fan. Miller Central's my track, right? I'm excited to get to the racetrack. I go there and I got 29 cars and 5 tracks. I paid the same amount of money to get in, the same amount for the same cheeseburger. I probably didn't eat as many cheeseburgers because it was over in 20 minutes. But I mean, you get the point. It's like I paid money for that. I'm going to be less likely to want to go back after an experience like that. I mean, the drivers, I assume, and I shouldn't, maybe it's not fair to assume, I don't know, did the purse get way massively cut? Who knows what happened there? We haven't heard that end of the deal, but, yeah, someone still gets to win. They get a sticker and a trophy potentially. So, that guy's probably happy, but yeah, it's a bad deal. I mean, the drivers, they get to race and they get paid, but the fans get screwed in the deal big time.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, you can't put on a quality show with that few cars. I mean, common sense, you'd think a track would have enough common sense to realize that, but that's the whole purpose of having that sanctioning body, is for them to say, look, it's a bad idea. Okay. By the rules, yeah, I get it. You can do it, but no, not happening. Okay, not happening. They might get mad, but they're probably more mad now. I bet they lost their ass. I can't imagine it went very good for them this past weekend, but
I mean,
unbelievable.
WISSOTA's job to protect the egomaniacs from themselves, right?
That one would think. One would absolutely think. We'll get more into some of that in a little bit here. So let's jump into one of my favorite segments here. Who's hot and who's not? Brought to you by our friends over at East Central Sports, brand new sponsor here just a couple weeks back, or just last week. So East Central Sports in Rush City, Minnesota. They are your number one source for pit bikes, kids ATVs, golf carts, Toro mowers, and more. So give them a call. Okay, their number 320-358-1994, or follow them on, check them out online, www.eastcentralsports.com. And if you're in the market for any of those things, that's the place to go. For racers, by racers. Also mention to Mac and the gang over there that you heard about them on the One to Go show, and you're going to get $100 discount on any of your purchases. So thanks a lot to East Central Sports right in Rush City, Minnesota. So let's start with who's hot. Bert, age before beauty. Age before beauty there, Bert. That's why Chonga's going to go last. He thinks he's a self-proclaimed sexy bitch of the bunch. So,
holy smokes. Wow.
All right, Bert, who's hot? Who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Superman. I mean, I know he won 2 races, and we try to stay away from winners, but I mean, he hasn't won a race in Illinois since, I think they said, 2015, and he had 2 wins last week, a 5th, a 7th, and a 13th. So pretty good week for him. And I wouldn't exactly say bull rings are his forte. So he, and in his interviews, he was very happy with his outcomes.
I could see him winning at Spoon River. It's kind of, a little slicker, kind of his deal. If I would have said, and he's won at Falls, he's won the PDC before. But if I would have said to the group, here's my pick for Fairbury, Jonathan Davenport, you would have thought I'd done lost my mind, right? Everybody would pick, Pierce, Sheppy, RTJ, all their rowdy friends that are banging the berm on the high side. Davenport was good. That was a really good race too. So very, very strong. Anybody locally? Anybody? Go ahead, Changa. We're going to talk more about Illinois Speed Weeks too.
That win at Fairbury for Davenport is his first win in the state of Illinois in 10 years, and only the second time he's ever won in Illinois, going back to the 2015 PDC.
Well, Spoon River, he won.
I believe they told me that I'm saying that was the first win since his 25th. The Spoon River that he won.
Yeah, yeah.
The second race that he won since the 15 PDC. So
yeah, yeah.
Now, I didn't catch all of his interviews, so did he say the wrong shot company?
He did.
Okay.
He did. And then he had another video come out and be like, look, I got all Bilsteins here. Like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. He got hit in the head with two. TPO got hit in the shoulder with a rock. JD got hit in the head. Okay, it just is what it is. Race car drivers.
He was retracting that at like 1:30 in the morning when someone on his crew told him, "Hey, Dumbo, what in the hell were you doing?" He was on social media retracting it.
Exactly. Any other hot ones there, Bert?
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about Illinois Speed Weeks later, and I have some information about that, so I'll save that.
Okay.
Changa, who's hot?
How many do I get?
Hey, as many shout outs as you want. Have at it.
We'll just try to keep it.
That's enough. Just kidding.
We'll try to keep it with not too many crazy ones. Let's see. We'll start off with James G.O.A.T, right? He's got 3 wins, a 4th and a 7th to start the year. It's a big improvement over the past couple of years. He's back to where he was a few years back, so that's good to see. Cole Gresseth in the street stock, 3 wins and a 3rd in the month of May. So he's been on fire. What else I got here? I got to give a shout out to one of our local boys, Jeff Provenzino, going on that challenge series run there. A 3rd, a 1st, and a 5th to start the year with a brand new race car, home built, and barely making it to the track with the thing. So that was a good one. Only other one I got is Justin Peck. He's got a 2nd and 2/3 last week in high limits racing.
Yeah, Peck's been good too. So yeah, that we'll talk more about Bravo, but that was a pretty sweet interview. The interview might have been better than the race. So I got a little bit of an assist from Dano here. How about Jimmy Owens? 4 straight podiums and a win at Lake Cumberland. One of them podiums was with the World of Outlaws down, I think, at Talladega. Jimmy Owens has been quietly good. Now here's the thing: is Jimmy Owens a guy that's going to run Lucas Oil and compete for a championship right now? Doesn't appear that to be the case, right? But he's extremely strong in those regional tours, and I can see him running very well this weekend with the Hunt the Front cars. Terrence Spacek, okay, only 1 win on the year, but in 6 races, 4 seconds a win, and then he was in a podium position, broke something there. Appears like in Rice Lake. Not sure what it was, but Terrence Spacek has been absolutely lights out to start the season yet again. I got a couple more, but we're going to talk more about them once we get to breaking down some of the different classes. So, Changa, what do you got?
I just wanted to give the one more that I forgot to give. Max Blair, right? Last week he goes to Illinois Speed Weeks. He runs the first 2 races, goes to Spoon River, has some altercation with Rodney Melvin. There was some push and shoving, and he left and went home back to Pennsylvania, right? Went to Pennsylvania, won 3 super late model races, 2 crate late model races, picked up his 400th win of his career. So that's pretty cool.
I did not know that. That is really cool. I'm not sure what happened with Melvin, but it sure motivated him because he went home and was lights out. And there's some pretty stout competition up in the Northeast up there in Pennsylvania country. So it's not like he was going and racing against nobody up there as well. Who's not, Bert? Who's not?
I'm going to go in kind of a different direction, and we talked about this. I'm going to go Shawano Speedway late model car counts are not hot, and I'm also going to go with how many drivers are actually following the WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series, because you have basically 3 Eastern Wisconsin drivers in the top 10 in points right now.
I'm telling you, there's a few that fell off. I know. So Ryan Michelson, he rolled night one at Fergus. Otherwise, he would have been there Saturday and Sunday. I didn't see what happened, but it was a last lap deal. Might have even been right after the checkered. Not 100% positive, but he would have 100% been at Viking and at Granite. So that was one. Jeffrey Massengill, they were moving into their new house this past weekend. So they had to get everything kind of moved over there and situated. And it's like, you couldn't wait 1 week. And it's like, no, it was time. They had some stuff they were dealing with. They got a family, so they wanted to get moved in, which is good for local racing up in the Northland, because that means he'll probably race more around home. He'll still race some Challenge Series stuff, but that's two of the drivers right there. Not sure on the rest of them. We'll talk more about the Challenge Series shortly. Anything else there, Bert, before we jump over to Changa?
Oh, we can go to Changa.
Chimichanga.
Well, I guess I'll go to the not hot list. I'm going to put them on there again. Dexton Cook, right? Started on the front row again this week, and Rotherham was, started first, wheeled her all the way up to third at Granite, and he's just maybe not bad, but missing something, right? He's not the Dexton Cook that we've come to expect, right? It's the only other guy I got on there is Carson Macedo. He's 5 of the last 6 off the podium with 2 DNFs, and he's just kind of a little bit on the struggle bus. Fell from second to fourth in the points. I believe he's like 162 points out now, so he's lost like 100 points in the standings.
Yeah, he's been kind of struggling, that's for sure. With the assist to Dano here, how about the Reaper Ryan Gustin? Started out strong early in the year, looked like he was going to be quick. 1 top 5 in his last 8 races, and I believe it was a 4th. He's not been good. You would have figured that with Marshalltown, home track, Illinois Speed Weeks, he's a banger, right? He'd be good on the cushion. 1 top 5. So Gustin, definitely not hot. Mike Anderson, right? One of the best mod drivers there in Wissota in Wisconsin. 7 races, 2 top 5s, no wins on the year. He just the young kids over there kind of taking it to him, which makes me look at it like Mike Anderson's a hell of a good race car driver. He's getting whooped up on by these kids, and that every time I think about coming back, I look at that, I'm like, maybe not. I might be good. Maybe I'm good. So Mike Anderson would be my second one. So what do you say we transition over to the classes, right? So Bert, you watch some Challenge Series stuff, I know, but you didn't watch a whole lot of really the bulk of Wissota. That's kind of Changa and I's wheelhouse there, so to speak. So we're going to call it the best stories of the week, kind of per class, so to speak. We kind of have it broke down to grassroots, so on and so forth. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to our friends up in Ashland, Wisconsin, Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, home of the Galloper chassis, #1 sponsor of the best series in all of Wissota racing. That's the Northland Superstock Series, not too far away from getting their season rolling as well. But they do custom powder coating, sandblasting, fabricating. They service a lot of racetracks. For all things racing, they can get whatever you need. They can build whatever you need. And I tell you what, they take good care of you. They're a great group of people. Give Chris and the gang a call. Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating. It's 715-682-3278 right up in Ashland, Wisconsin. Thanks a lot to Fastlane. So let's start with grassroots, okay? So Changa, you basically admitted. All right, so all you pure stock Hornet Mod 4 people out there, even though Changa's a former pure stock champion, he don't fucking like you. Just is what it is. Me and Bert do. We watch all you guys. Changa does not. Okay. So I don't know what the story is here with him. We'll get him to come around. We'll get him to come around. But one track that's not screamed, right? We'll see how it works. Maybe they'll get a better crowd as a result. Deer Creek Speedway. So the D1, Dustin Dowdy, got to give him a shout out. He won back-to-back features down there at Deer Creek, but in dramatic fashion this last week. Evidently, there was altercation with him, and the second place car forgot to turn or whatever. And next thing you know, there's car barrel rolling over the top of him down the racetrack, and it ended in a complete disaster. But he ended up walking to victory lane for the victory lane photo without the car. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Sounds like the car's okay, but the other one probably not so much. So the D1 parking it in victory lane again down in Deer Creek. In the Hornet division, So they take in Wissota, they take your best 20 shows. Guys, we're only halfway through May. Tony Jensen, 5 wins already on the year. 5 wins. He's only got to get 15 more wins to hit 20. Boy, I tell you what, he's off to a really good start. Bobby Arness, 3 wins as well. Hornet Racing is really fun to watch. Some of the best racing I've seen, side-by-side action, best finishes have been the Hornets. So keep an eye on them. Now, we're going to jump. That's our grassroots shout out right there. Let's jump into street stock. So, Changa, you watch some street stock racing. That's what actually turning into one of our favorite classes. And Bert, if you have anything, I don't know if you watched any of the stock car stuff in Eastern Wisconsin. If you did, if anything stuck out, this is the time to maybe pipe in there. But Changa, what stuck out to you this past week in street stock action?
It was, the street stocks kind of provided some of the best racing I saw this week. I'm just trying to look at. So out at in Grand Forks at the River City Speedway, they had a great battle for the lead with Cole Gresseth and Trey Hess. They were battling it out hard for the last say 5 to 8 laps. Trey Hess gave up the bottom and Gresseth kind of filled the hole, and then Hess come in and kind of gave him some right side romance, but just couldn't quite move him out of the way to finish the deal there. So that one was a really fun one. There was another one here, and I got notes all over the place. Out at Buffalo River, there was a street stock race that Casey Usatis won. The same thing. I think it was him and Trey Hess, and they went into the last corner, and Hess had a big run on him, and it was a narrow racetrack, and he come up behind him, and he was just going to give him a shot in the back bumper and try to scoot him up the racetrack. And Usatis, being a veteran who's won a bunch of races, he just laid in the brake and kind of held him back rather than allowing himself to get punted up the racetrack, So that was another fun one to watch.
Those two are pretty good. They're pretty good. You add Cole Gresseth into that mix. You got 3 really good race car drivers over in that area that are going to go head to head all year long. I want to give a big shout out here. So Eric Riley with a big week, back-to-back wins, holding off Dykoff, and he held off Colton Brower. That was a good race at Viking, but Riley with a win at Viking, and he won at I-94 on Friday, back-to-back on the week. Cole Gresseth, who we talked about, he also won at River Cities, and he won at Devil's Lake, 2 on the week for him. So there's a couple drivers that are back-to-back wins. Tommy Pagonis got his second of the year. He's going to be really tough to beat in Princeton and in Ogilvie. Jans, who's definitely been the guy to beat Montevideo and Madison. He parked it at the Fiesta City Speedway. Trainer got his second win. This time he didn't need a guy to drive over the tractor tire to get it done. He got it done. Robert Petroff, guy just keeps on winning out in Montana. Maria Brooksick got one over in, I think she actually got one over in Miller. She won that Friday race in Miller. They had 9 of them. She actually opted out of Aberdeen, went to Miller instead. But definitely some good street stock action over the past week. And, looking at it here, Montevideo, right? As bad as the car counts have been in a lot of their classes, they had 20 street stocks there on Friday. Street stocks are very, very strong in that part of the country right now. I think that's the only other one. Brown County was good, but most of them are right around that 10 or 12. 20 cars in Montevideo bodes well for the street stock class out in western Minnesota. So Changa stepped away there for a minute. While he's walking back in, we're going to talk a little bit of Midwest modified action here. Now, Bert, okay, I'm going to start with this, okay? We got to give a shout out to our boy, the one to go show 40D, okay? Spin to win. We're going to get him new t-shirts, okay? Spin to win. Now, Bert, I don't know if you saw that video I sent in the group chat. Did you see that? Awfully disappointed, Bert. You would have known what I'm talking about if you would have saw it. You would have saw it. So he got second at Monty. He got second at Monty. He goes on Saturday. I don't know what he did at Rice Lake in the B mod. I think he might have got third. Okay, but then he goes to Granite City. Right now, keep in mind he's been really good in the A mod. Has not found victory lane yet in the Wissota Midwest mod. Intermission happens at the Granite City Motor Park, and next thing you know, they're talking, they're doing the lineups, and Kyle Hall's on the horn. He's like, "Whoa, whoa!" He gets pretty animated. He gets pretty excited, right? Blake Adams spun out, Bert, on the parade lap. On the parade lap.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw you sent that. I saw that.
Yeah. Yep. What kind of dumbass spins out on the parade lap, Bert?
Well, I'm sure it's happened before.
I did it. Changa was there. I did it. We'll talk about that. So Blake goes on. He spins out, and he wins his first feature, dominating fashion. Drove by everybody and off into the sunset. Finally parks at 40D Midwest Mod in Victory Lane. I message him. I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to do that every freaking time you unload that thing. Just spin out on the parade lap. It seems to be the only way you can win. So Changa, I believe you were with me. Yeah, we're down at Cedar Lake. They used to run WISSOTA Super Stocks with the World of Outlaws on a Monday show down there at Cedar. And as you can imagine, completely packed house, right, for the World of Outlaws at Cedar Lake. We're outside row number 1 next to Greg Nippolt, and I'm kind of feeling out the high side on the parade lap. I loop it in front of the whole freaking field and everybody that's there. I'm like, oh my God, this is freaking stupid. Go on to win the feature just like Blake did, and I kind of got some redemption. I did get shit in Victory Lane, but that was a tough one. But great redemption to gather yourself back up, because I guarantee as a kid, right, you're probably feeling like, holy shit, I feel like an idiot right now. I guarantee you're embarrassed when it happens, but he gathered himself up, drove it to Victory Lane. I have a few more things here, but Chongo, what else stuck out to you this week in Midwest Modified action?
Okay, well, Midwest Modifieds at I-94, it was kind of Tyler Bitson won, Tanner Bitson third, so it was kind of the Bitson show. But I noticed, there and that Viking as well, Onyx Johnson, he's starting to show some speed. He's running up front, contending for some wins. I feel like he's got the speed. He can kind of stay up front, but I just, he's just missing that experience, the ability to go forward. He's fine in clean air, but when he gets in dirty air, tends to get a little pushed around. But every week he seems to be improving, and so I want to give a shout out to him because he's going to be a fun one to watch going forward.
Yeah, a couple second generation guys, right? So Onyx Johnson, obviously the son of Zach Johnson, multi-time national champion, Challenge Series champion, one of the best to do it in our area. And then, of course, the Bitson family. I mean, Dennis Bitson was the man in modified racing for a long time over at the Viking Speedway in that area. And now there's a whole pile of Bitsons out there. I assume they're all related somehow, and every one of them are very, very fast. So kind of cool to watch. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Cody Borgeson. A pair of wins this past week. I don't know if he had 2 wins in a same weekend for quite a while. It's been a while since he has. So he got the win over at the Red Cedar Speedway, Bert, on Friday, and then he won on Saturday at the bus race event. Bert, that's a cool win, because that's a freaking packed ass house. That crowd at the bus races, from what I've been told, I haven't been to one, is it rivals USA Nationals fan base, right? So to win in front of that crowd, that's a pretty cool deal. Stout field of cars as well. I think they had 31 Midwest mods on Saturday. They had 17 at Red Cedar. So Cody Borgeson, another second generation driver. We had some epic battles with old Tim Borgeson in the Super back in the day. Jory Berg, trifecta. He might have been the only guy this weekend, I believe, in WISSOTA country to have the trio. He had 3 wins this past weekend. I know he won at Devil's Lake. He won at River Cities, and then he won at Buffalo River on Sunday. So Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, Buffalo River, 3 wins on the weekend. That's a big weekend for the BO of Jory Berg. And then we have one here that is like, we'll call it bittersweet, or not bittersweet, but a bitter feeling for one is a sweet feeling for another, maybe. So a kid that really got pretty quick last year in the Midwest Mods, Ryan Putnam over in central Minnesota, Ogilvie, Princeton. That he races those tracks. He's at Princeton, guys, and he's gone. Like, race is over. I believe there was 2 to go. Lapper had some issues, got sideways in front of him. Next thing you know, he's crossed up and going through the infield, and lo and behold, here comes one of the winningest drivers in Midwest Modified history, Jason Vandekamp, to capitalize on it. Parks it in Victory Lane, and Putnam messaged me. He goes, "Yeah, the guy was having problems. It's a racing deal. The guy came over, sounded like he apologized, but." I'm like, you'll win some that way. If you're fast, you put yourself in position, you're going to lose some that way for sure. but you're going to win some that way. And Vandy Camp, I guarantee he's lost his fair share with some stupid shit happening. This time he got one to the plus, and tough break there for Ryan Putnam. So anything else in the Midwest Mod stick out to you, or should we move on to Super Stocks?
Yeah, let's move on.
Super Stocks, Super Stocks, as our friend over at the Grand Rapids Speedway would say. Changa, anything major stick out in Super Stock action this past weekend?
Well, I guess the finish of the week would go to Granite City, and the old 7A does it again, right? Starts eighth, and Dennis Zeck had the thing won. Well, he started on the front row with Dexton Cook, and there was a battle for like fourth and fifth there between Dexton Cook and Austin Niemeyer and Shane Sabraski, and nobody was really going anywhere. And then all of a sudden, you get down in the last couple laps, and Sabraski finds his way to second, and last corner, he looks like he has no chance, drives it in on the top, and it was dirty. It was marbly, and you didn't think he had a chance, but I'll be damned if he doesn't beat him by, it was like 0.012 seconds at the line. Didn't even look like he won on the video, but he, does it once again, right?
I thought for sure Zach won, but the transponder loop don't lie. The loop is the loop, right? That's the electronic part of it. And Shane got by him just at the line, and both of those drivers very clean, old school super stock drivers. Zach would have roughed them up a little bit. That would not have happened. So Dennis, I know they're buddies, but toughen up a little bit, man. You can't be letting the 7A get by you. Just fucking give him a quarter panel or something. I mean, what are we talking about here? It's a super stock. I mean, rough his ass up a little bit. All right.
I guess if I was going to have another one, I guess, Tim Johnson up in Brainerd, he does it again, like always. Drove by Dylan Nelson, or Dylan ended up having some problems and breaking there. Sparby got second and Barsness third. So a couple of northern Minnesota guys getting on the podium there. But I guess
Barsness is a rookie too, Chung. That's his first race out. So a third place in his first night out in a super stock, that's a solid finish.
I didn't realize that it was his first ever night in the car there either. So that's pretty
Yep.
And then I guess the notable thing from that one was Tommy Bowden wide open into the wall, destroying a race car, and rumors are he might be done for the year already.
On a yellow. So now he already had 2 wins as a rookie. Obviously, he was a standout in the Mod 4 division. Throttle stuck. Yep, he comes out of turn 4. Yellow comes out, throttle sticks, pounds it into the wall. Didn't look hard, but boy, when I saw the pictures of that thing, it was shortened up. It was not a good deal. So tough break there for Tommy. Hopefully he gets his stuff back together and back out, because he's a good guy to be watching racing. He's somebody that's going to win a lot of races if he can get back out there. Cole Chernosky making the trip down from north of the border down to the Red Cedar Speedway, leaving with a victory. Back-to-back wins at the Big O. Ryan Kostreba, who, remember, last week absolutely put it to Sabraski and Dexton Cook, and he went back-to-back, so he's proving it's not a fluke. Kostreba ended the season very strong last year, starting the season very strong this year. Keep an eye on that 17. Veteran driver Eric Olson at Rice Lake. You talked about Sabraski. Dylan Nelson did get a win. There's a guy that he's a double-digit win guy every year. Dylan Nelson won at Princeton. Jesse Radetsky, very excited. He said the biggest win of his career, not money-wise or whatever, but he won the Superstock portion at the bus races at Cedar. He's like, winning in front of that crowd is just epic. I mean, that many people there, it's a really cool deal. So Trevor Nelson off to a better start this year too, Changa. He got a win again this weekend down at Miller. So he's got a few wins. He might have the most wins right now in Superstocks. Let's jump into the modified division. What stuck out in the modifieds?
Go ahead, Bert.
Well, we're going to start with our boy, Bert. You should know this one, the One to Go Show 40D. Only special of the week, Rice Lake. They had their special, 1,200 to win. Blake Adams putting it to him at his home track. So congratulations, Blake, getting it done there. He was pretty excited about that one. Ryan Gerke, I like to call him Mullet Nation. He's probably in my top 3 to 5 drivers in Wissota Modifieds as far as entertainment value. Watching him wheel a car, he is absolutely balls to the walls, hair on fire, pounding the cushion, go anywhere on the racetrack. It can be rough. He's driving through the holes. It does not matter. Ryan Gerke is super fun to watch. Adam Brotherton, Midwest Mod standout, moving up to modifieds end of last year, parking in Victory Lane. First career modified win, getting that done down at Miller. What else stuck out to you, Changa? Did you get a chance to look at much modified stuff? Or?
I watched a bunch of them. I guess I'll go back to that Blake Adams winning that mod special at Rice Lake. That was really cool. And then I don't know, call it third generation driver coming home second in that one, Jack Revord, right? Another local young gun, Brady Uton
He might be fourth generation.
Yeah, actually, you're probably right there. Yeah. Brady Uton got fourth, and he was running up in the top three there for a long time. Another young kid, but I guess my takeaway from that is that track had, you watch Blake in that race, and he looked like Buzzy. I mean, he was attacking, and he looked like Buzzy. He was searching, and they interviewed Buzzy in Victory Lane after they interviewed Blake, and he said, guys, this was a driver's racetrack. He made sure to emphasize that, and it wasn't an easy task. He had to pass some cars to get there, so he did a beautiful job. I-94, Travis Sauer, the slide job on TPO to steal the win with inside of 2 to go. That was pretty fun to watch as well.
Travis Sauer, the standout. He might be up in the top 3 as far as most wins over at I-94 on the old Cowboy, getting it done there. That was a fun race to watch. Clayton Wagaman getting it done at Princeton, hustling over there. Wagaman is definitely one of the toughest guys to beat in Princeton and in Ogilvie. I believe that's his first of the year. Superman Mike Stearns been kind of battling some gremlins, DNFs. What can go wrong does go wrong, but he did get it done at his home track there at Brown County Speedway. Congrats to Mike on that. So, yeah, some pretty good mod racing over the weekend. Let's jump into late models here. As far as our last WISSOTA class. So, of course, the big thing on the docket this week, guys, was the Structural Buildings WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series. They upped the ante this year for the points fund. Chad from Structural Buildings also put a deal out there that the champion is going to get an additional $2,500 sponsorship for the 2026 season. Kind of a cool thing from Structural Buildings for the late model guys. But they raced at I-94 on Friday, Viking Speedway on Saturday. Then they went over to the Granite City Motor Park in Sauk Rapids on Sunday. What stuck out to you guys over the Challenge Series? Bert, we're going to start with you. You've been kind of quiet for a while. I know you watched a little bit of Challenge Series stuff here. What stuck out? What stuck out to you? What kind of piqued your mind here?
Well, should I point out the elephant in the room right away?
You have at her. Have at her.
Yeah.
We ain't shy.
That was the first. Well, that was at I-94, correct? And
Yeah.
Mars,
LeBron
Sammy Mars got into Don Shaw kind of late in the race, and then kind of it pushed Shaw up into the wall. Sparks flew, but he kept going for about 50 feet, and then he decided to loop it, it appeared, and then the caution came out. Otherwise, there was no need for a caution because he had kept going. So, and then Sammy got put to the back, and Shaw got his spot back, and I guess that's the controversy.
That's all partially true. That's all partially true. So Sammy threw an aggressive slider. Okay, he did. I saw people saying, "Oh, he cleared him by a mile." No, he did not.
No,
he did not.
Well,
he did not clear him. Right.
The thing is, though, I mean, Sammy.
I liked it. It was exciting. It wasn't, but it was. It wasn't
Sammy
perfectly clean.
Sammy backed off a few laps earlier. He could have tried that move a few laps earlier, and he laid off of him. He stayed down low. He didn't try to do the slider, and he lost a lot of momentum when he did that. So he fell back
half a straightaway.
Yeah, and then Shaw kind of messed up in 1 and 2. He kind of got up in the loose stuff, so Mars was able to catch him again. And this time he didn't back off, and he wasn't clear by a mile. It looked like he was clear, and then Shaw kind of came back, and then they touched, and Shaw went up into the wall.
So you keep saying Shaw. I'm not sure who that is. I don't believe. This is just rumor, speculation. I wasn't there. I don't believe he was driving the 42 car. The Lakers got eliminated from the NBA playoffs, and everybody wonders what do these players do.
Okay.
And it turns out LeBron James drives late model. So he was actually in the 42 car, right? Because it literally looked like him flopping. I speculation. I wasn't there, but rumors, sources are telling me that was not. So quit banging on Don Shaw. I believe that was LeBron James. Not positive on that. As I say, I wasn't there. But Sammy threw a haymaker. He did. And I got to be honest, I love it. It's fun to watch, right? And I don't think he meant to dirty him. I don't think he gave two shits, but he was going kind of funny though, right? Because a couple years back, we're big Jesse Glenn's fans, and some of the Mars camp is like, "Oh, you slide job, you dirty driver." They were hating on Jesse Glenn's because he was throwing too many sliders. Sam Mars throws sliders, and he's damn good at it. It's super fun to watch. Only we can pass in them shit boxes. You can't run side by side in a late model. You got to throw a slider, right? Track was excellent for the late models. They farmed it. And they were hustling the high side. They were throwing sliders. It was really fun. But yeah, you're right. He, in my eyes, the 42 straightened it out. He did get hit. He got out of shape. He got it straightened out. Comes off turn 4, hits the brake, stops, turns to the left. I'm like, oh boy. And I'm thinking, I'm messaging with Coach Kraus at the time, and I'm like, there's no way. There's no way they're calling that on Mars. There's no way. They're like, well, where do you think they're racing at? I'm like, come on, it's that obvious, right? There's no freaking way. That's not happening. He's like, I'm telling you, sure as shit. Sammy Mars to the back. I'm like, oh my God. And Changa, when you saw that, what went through your mind?
Well, I think you guys touched on a lot of it. Sammy threw a haymaker slider. Did he clear him? Not necessarily. Probably not. He came across his nose, upset the guy's race car, made him back into the wall. Like Bert said, sparks were flying. Don did a nice job. He's an experienced race car driver and a talented race car driver with great equipment, right? He did a great job, saved the car, drove it down the speedway, was pissed off and parked it. Right? You talked about LeBron and his flopping, right? If anything, he makes LeBron look Oscar worthy for his acting jobs, because that was awful. It was the worst park job I've ever seen in my entire life. You can't even tell me that he didn't do it on purpose. Nobody could make that argument. It's not even possible. He parked it on purpose. He's got lots of money. It's his home track. And guess what? He's going to get the call, plain and simple.
He might have a little reputation for getting a little excited when the call don't go his way. Do you think that played into that? Do you think the officials or, Challenge Series director, do you think they're sitting back going, I can't put him to the back? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's no way. We'll all be fired.
There's no other answer. There's no way that didn't come into play, because there's no other way you could read it. It was the worst acting job you ever seen in your life. It's 100% because of who he is.
Does the WISSOTA Challenge Series have a caution rule? Do they have a no fault, or?
I wish.
No, if it would have been a no fault, he would have been going to the back because he's the only car that stopped.
But
right?
What I'm saying is every race has to be called that way. You can't do it this way and then a no fault in a different race, is what I'm saying.
We'll get this. This is where it gets better. So my sources tell me, and I have some people that I know in the late model world that called me right after that, and you ain't gonna believe this shit. I'm like, what happened? They're like, well, the Challenge Series director at the pit meeting spent a few minutes really talking to drivers, saying we got too many cars here. It's gonna be a late show. We ain't gonna deal with you parking it if you get run over and stopping the race and bringing out the yellow and doing all that. I'm like, he did not. They're like, true story. That was a conversation at the pit meeting. Well, sure as shit. Track owner does exactly what he said not to do, and didn't see nothing here. 28 to the back. It's like, oh boy. And I actually messaged Sammy. I'm like, man, that was a tough break. Good run, whatever. And he's like, hey, got to move on. And it's all he said. He did not want to get into any drama with it. He just said, we had a good car. It was unfortunate. Got to move on till tomorrow. That's a professional answer. And, that is his dad, one of the best ever strap in. Of course, his grandpa, Paul Gilbert's very successful himself. To see basically a third generation racer. Of course, Paul Gilbert's isn't Jimmy's dad, but 3 generations there nonetheless. For him a lot of drivers don't act that way. A lot of them would be all over social media. Oh man, that was a bunch of bullshit. I can't believe I got screwed. None of that. He just on to the next one. Tough break is what it is. Got to move on. And I got to respect that. I think that was a good answer, a good response by Sam Mars. Changa?
Well, I think all of this is taken away from the actual good part of the deal, right? Where our boy from northern Minnesota, Kevin Burdick, puts on a clinic, drives by some really good race cars, drove an absolutely beautiful race, and brought home a Challenge Series $3,000 check to northern Minnesota. Beautiful.
The 30 was absolutely lights out. At that was, and he faded. He started. So if you look at the box score, right? He started. I think he started on the front row, didn't he? So I think he started on the front row, and then he backed up a ways. I think he backed up to 5th or 6th at one point, and he comes storming back. He found something up top, and it literally looked like he was coming off at turn 2, 20 miles an hour faster because of how quick he was getting through the center of the corner. So super cool to see, one of the northern Minnesota boys parking in Victory Lane at a Challenge Series race. Kevin Burdick, your winner, night number 1, I-94 Speedway. Night number 2 at the Viking Speedway. So the win ended up going back-to-back nights, first 2 nights of the year. Another Hibbing car. Yes, I get it. Kevin Burdick's from Proctor. No, he's a Hibbing guy. Sorry, that's where he's from. He's always a Hibbing guy. It is what it is. Jeff Provenzino parking it in Victory Lane. Now, Bert, did you get a chance to watch Viking, the post race, the interview, any of that? Now, Jeff Provenzino builds his own race cars, 28 special race cars, builds them right in Hibbing, Minnesota. Essentially a home built chassis, right? He's a chassis manufacturer, but he's a very small one, builds a couple cars a year. I'm going to call it's about as home built as you can get in a late model. Well, he put it to the Rockets, the Longhorns, the MBs, all them, and kind of got a gift, right? Lee Gross was gone. What do you have, half a straightaway, Changa? Something like that. And lo and behold, he found himself facing the wrong way. It happens, right? I mean, whatever, it is what it is. Provenzino in the interview, he's like, oh, I don't know what the hell he was doing up in the loon shit up there to begin, like literally, because it was all marbles. They took Changa, I don't know if you saw this. They actually took before the late model feature and they moved all the tractor tires in about 6 feet. Everybody ran the bottom, marbled up the whole racetrack. Gross was gone. He was kind of rolling, but everybody was kept blowing shit up on there, and he just got loose in the marbles, lost it. And Prowl was like, I don't know what the hell he was doing there. Obviously, nobody was giving him signals, right? Because if they would have been giving him signals, they would have been like, yeah, no, get down to the bottom because that's where it's clean. And tough break for Lee Gross, but Prowl's interview, like he banged on the point that, hey, I built this car myself. It's in Hibbing, Minnesota. He's pretty proud of the fact that, he doesn't have maybe he does, but I don't think he has the budget to go be buying $100,000 late models and all that. But pretty cool to see. Everybody talks about in the late models, oh, got to have a Longhorn, got to have a Rocket, got to have an MB, got to have this, got to have that. Well, 28 special found Victory Lane on Saturday at Viking. 3 top 5s on the week to start out the year. Pretty good night for Jeff Provenzino. What else stuck out to you at Viking there, Changa?
I mean, I guess Lee Gross was way out there in front, and Pravo was making up ground on him. And then once they had to get out of the preferred line, and once there was a lap car in between, Pravo would lose ground because he wasn't willing to go drive up in the loon shit, right? He's trying to just tightly drive through the middle around the lappers, and he would lose ground. And I think when Lee Gross spun out, Pravo was catching him in a hurry because he was just out of the preferred line doing something that he probably shouldn't have been doing, right? Pravo in his interview also says, he goes, I think I'd have caught him and passed him anyways, and because he just wasn't where he needed to be, Sobraski in his interview gave props to Pravo and his home built race car, talking, hey, he was the class of the field. He was just better than us tonight, so that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, great run. So back-to-back wins for the Hibbing boys there in Challenge Series. Night number 3, they head to Granite. Unfortunate, they didn't have 20 cars, right? They had half the cars they had on Friday. And the track, I thought last week, it was a little choppy, right? A week ago, but it was pretty racy. 2 weeks ago, there was some pretty darn good racing at Granite. This week, 90 degrees, freaking 40-mile-an-hour winds. I don't care who you are. That's a tough deal. It's a tough deal. It didn't rubber, though. To the best of my knowledge, it didn't look like it rubbered. It looked like it stayed slippery the whole race. So if it didn't rubber, that's fantastic. It was slippery. They could move around. Cole Searing gave him an absolute ass kicking. I think he lapped like 8th place or something. He just absolutely drove away from everybody. And I kind of expected him. I mean, he ran pretty good. I think he got a 5th, a 3rd, and then, of course, a 1st. So, I mean, he had 3 top 5s. I kind of thought he was going to be on the podium all 3 nights, but he was by far the dominant car at Granite City. Anything else there to add on that, Changa?
Only thing to add after that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Shane Sabraski, after the first 3 races, is your points leader without winning a race.
He is, and it's tight. I think it's him, Searing,
Yeah,
Provenzino, top 3.
Behind, and Bravo's like 3 points behind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a pretty good mix of some guys up there. Hopefully hopefully I was a little disappointed that Burdick, after winning that first race and running decent the second night, wasn't at Granite, but I understand there's some point series going to be going on at home, and he won't be able to follow the whole series anyways, but
right.
Yeah.
So,
Bravo does as the year goes on, right?
Bravo's going to follow. Bravo's going to run the Challenge Series. Burdick is going to race primarily his home turf. Sounds like they were doing the Mother's Day thing or whatever, and which is understandable on Mother's Day on Sunday. I get that. Surprise, kind of the surprise of the week, Tyler Peterson. Right, got to talk about it. Back-to-back national championship, and had a rough one there, I-94, going for the lead. I'm not sure what happened. Got up into the fence, DNF the heat, had to come through the B, take a provisional. I think he went 23rd, top 10. I think he got 8th. Rough night at Viking. I don't know what happened in the heat race, but the heat didn't go well. Had to go to the B, spun out leading the B, which you never see Tyler Peterson do. And I think he pulled off essentially pretty much right away in the feature. He also did not go to Granite City on Sunday. So with 2 pretty bad point nights and then a missing a night, and I get it, they get to drop a show, I'm going to go ahead and assume that he might not run the series at all. He might be done, which is unfortunate for the Challenge Series because he is, without a doubt, one of the top 3 most talented drivers in the Wissota late model division. So losing him from the series that's a hit, right? That's, as a race fan, you want Tyler Peterson at all them shows. It just makes the show that much better.
Does that mean, do you think that'll mean he's going to follow the NLRA deal?
I don't know that he'll follow anything, to be honest. I have not confirmed one way or the other, right? I didn't ask him. He might just pick and choose, right? He might just do that. I'm going to guess, I don't know this. I would assume that he's going to be up in Devil's Lake Saturday for the NLRA opener. I would think. And if he wins that, maybe it carries on and he runs a few more because he does live in Hickston. He's not far from Fargo, and that's there's a lot of NLRA stuff kind of in the region. It's hard to say. I'm not sure what he's going to do. We know this. Wherever he unloads, he's going to be fast.
Are you saying he might be going on a TPO fun tour?
He could be. He could be on the fun tour, and let's face it. So he runs good everywhere. He can adapt. He might take him a night or 2 to kind of figure some shit out, but he didn't really like Hibbing and Proctor, that red or clay type stuff. That wasn't his favorite type of material. So I don't think it would hurt his feelings not to go there. No different than like Sheppy, right? Sheppy's really good on black dirt, not real good on clay, so I'm not saying TPO is not, but this will give him the latitude to just kind of pick and choose, go wherever he wants. There's always them races on the series. You don't like a track, don't have to go if you're not following the points. So going to be interesting to see what the old one TPO does. Changa, did you see who won Saturday at the Buffalo River Speedway in Glendon? Bert, hold on. Bert, did you see who won?
I did not.
When I say North Dakota all-time late model talented drivers, give me a couple, and then make a guess.
Is Mitch Johnson from North Dakota?
Mitch Johnson, Hickston, basically neighbors to Tyler Peterson, parking in a victory lane at Buffalo River. That's great to see. The old dog, he took a few years off, come back in the saddle. You know what actually got him back in the saddle, Changa? Provenzino let him run his car. Yeah, he ran Pravo's other car over at Jamestown. Frickin' Provenzino, he's like a drug dealer, right? He's like, this guy's he's off it. He's like, oh, come on, Mitch, let's run it. Next thing you know, he's racing again. Congratulations, Mitch Johnson. Shane Edgington at Devil's Lake, Chase Gelling at Miller. Chad Becker with a pair of wins this weekend. He won, of course, at his home track, 24 cars over at Brown County on a regular night. Pretty good car count. And then he went to Buffalo River on Sunday, parked it in Victory Lane. So Chad Becker getting a pair of wins. Dustin Strand at River Cities. Oh, here's one for you. One more late model thing, and then we'll move on. Do you remember a few years back when somebody rolled over the 1L car over in Proctor, and he ran across a racetrack and literally punched, I believe it was Burdick, inside the car, and he found out he didn't even, I think it was Burdick, but he went after a guy in the car, and it wasn't even the right guy. Remember that?
Well, I probably heard about it. I don't remember it, but
Well, there's some video floating around on the internet right now that the old Double D, number 2 car, won't say any names. You guys, if you know, you know, got in an altercation with a driver over at Buffalo River, was super upset, proceeded to get out. And one reason I don't race is I got a little feisty myself, and we don't need to see fat people running across the racetrack. And he's kind of bigger like me, so there's a video of him running across the racetrack, screaming and yelling at a driver, only to find out that he was yelling at the wrong guy. Come on, man. Come on. He did, however, reach out and say, I got to get the guy's number and apologize because that was kind of dumb. But here's the deal. So I am so thankful, right, that I retired from racing before video footage of everything. Because people might come back and say, oh, man, he used to throw his steering wheel and he bullshit. If it ain't on video and there ain't no proof, it never happened. Never happened. So all this dumb shit we see people doing, and we call them out once in a while, that stuff happened in the past too, right? But guess what? There was no video footage of it. So did it really happen? Probably not, right? All right. Buddy of ours maybe carb stomped a guy over at the Proctor Speedway in the Midwest Mod one day. Is it on video? No, it's not on video. Never happened. Never happened, right? Played the fifth. Never saw it. Nothing to see here. Kind of thankful, right, that there was no video, because we might have had a few incidences that would have been kind of viral. So, yeah, when we bang on a guy, just know that, yeah, we've probably been there ourselves, right? It just is what it is. It's a passionate sport. It just is what it is, right? So let's talk about the race event of the week, maybe of the season. This is a banger of an event, right? But first, a shout out to our friends over at Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. So Daytona 1, number 1 in the industry, in the lubricant industry, everything from grease to gear oil to motor oil to additives to assembly lube to tire cleaner to tire treatment and everything in between, right? You can check them out online, Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants. They got a Facebook page. You can call Chad at 507-828-3536. And understand, Buck, the founder of Daytona 1, he's in the Hall of Fame, NASA Hall of Fame, the only person in the Hall of Fame specifically for lubricants. The guy's way smarter than me. Guys, I was talking, we're talking, so Shano, you said, Bert, that 3 cars race a feature, they gave everybody $300. Bert, it costs $500 to unload your car, right? Because if they go, hopefully they didn't put on new tires for a 3-car feature, right? But racers aren't real bright, so maybe, right? But down in UMP land, like the same tire that we run like in Wissota country for modified street stock supers, guys, they're almost $200 a piece, right, down there. Well, it's $300, $350 to win a stock car feature. Well, make that make sense, right? Well, how do you make that make sense? Well, you got to run your tires longer. And I get it, right? Some people are like, boy, oh boy, it's illegal. You can't run tire treatment. Can't do it. It's illegal. You're going to get disqualified. You get kicked out for a year. I ain't going to promise you nothing, okay? I will say this. If you get tested with Daytona 1 products on your tires, it's going to be illegal, okay? It just is. It's a tire treatment considered an additive. These fucking racetracks are broke. They're broke. Race car drivers, everybody's broke. Nobody's got any money. There ain't no way a lot of these club run tracks that are barely scraping by to keep the door open, they're not going to send out freaking tire samples. Take that for what it is. You do with that information whatever it is you want to do, okay? Now understand, promoter run tracks, they might have a little more money. They might send them in, but I'm just saying, if you're on a budget out there and you're like, I am not putting new tires on every night, you're going to roll the dice, save money, and be able to race longer? I know I sure would. So Daytona 1 Performance Lubricants, give Chad a call. Check them out online. Shanga.
So what does it cost? I mean, I know we've probably talked about this in the past. What does it cost to send in a tire sample for analysis?
About $100 a tire.
Okay, so perhaps they should take that right out of the tech crew and right out of Wasota's hands, and maybe that should be something another driver could protest, like an engine teardown.
They can. That's the thing. Nobody does it. Just like you get one teardown a year, right? Nobody does it, but
You only get one teardown
yeah.
as many want.
But racers are all broke too, right? They're like, I don't know if the guy's cheating for sure or not. I got another $100 $100 for the right rear, $100 for the right front, $100 for the left rear. Pretty soon you're like, well, holy shit, I already lost money tonight. Now I lost another $300 that I might not get back because I don't know how that works because you got to pay for it. They got to send it in. I don't know if you get that money back because Blue Ridge Labs or whatever, they get paid to do that. So I don't know, like in an engine teardown, if you protest somebody they're illegal, you get your money back. I don't know if you do on a tire protest. I'm not sure.
Well, that's the thing too, right? But let's be honest, right? In the past, back in our days when we were coming up through racing, it was like, you know what? There would be a lot of nights people get tore down, and there'd be 5 guys that put money together to tear down the one guy who was,
Yeah, if you're worried about it, you got to take it in your own hands, right? You got to, the protest rule is there for a reason. If you think a person's cheating, take advantage of it. But I can tell you right now for free, if you're out there on a budget and you're just like, hey, I want to go out there, if I can get some top 5s, run competitively, have some fun, I'm great. That's what I want to do. Why on earth are you going to put new tires on every night? It just financially does not make sense to do that. So that's an alternative for you. But the best event one of my favorite events of the year happened this past week, guys, Illinois Speed Weeks. 3 nights of Castrol Flow Racing Night in America late models, followed by back-to-back nights for the Lucas Oil late model series at Farmer City and at Fairbury. So they started out at LaSalle. Welcome back to dirt racing, LaSalle Speedway. And then they had Spoon River, then Lincoln, Illinois. So 5 nights of Illinois bull rings. Bert, what stuck out to you this past week from the Illinois Speed Weeks?
Bobby Pierce. I expected Bobby Pierce to dominate this Speed Weeks. And I mean, he had most of his runs were very good, but he had one clunker in there that really messed up his finishes. I mean, if you go by average finish, who do you think did better, RTJ, Bishop, or Pierce?
Bishop.
Yep. Yeah, I would have to. Yeah, because RTJ had a couple rough nights in there too.
Race that Pierce had the clunker in was not a Castrol points race, or he would have continued to race. But it was it was the Lucas race at Farmer City. There, it's like, what the hell? Why am I going to beat up my shit coming from 26 to try to get to 10?
Right. 100%.
Bishop had an average finish of 7th. RTJ was 7.2, and then Pierce was 7.6.
Yeah, and that's all because of that 26th place DNF. You take that out of the equation, he had a first, a third, a fifth, and another third. First, 2 thirds, and a fifth. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, but you know who else ran good at that deal was Squirrel Brian Shirley. He had a couple good nights. He showed some speed all weekend long as well. Like you said, we talked about this earlier. You had him on the hot list. I mean, in no universe would I have thought Jonathan Davenport would have won 2 of them races. 4 of the 5 races won by Lucas Oil guys. 4 of the 5.
Yeah. Davenport averaged 5.4. So
was he the highest? Did he have the highest average?
I only did those 4. I didn't do any other drivers.
Yeah,
because Huddy didn't run all the shows, but when he did, he was freaking fast.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna figure out Huddy's, but he didn't run all the shows, so that kind of throws everything off.
And as always, right? Save the best for last. I mean, if you've been listening to this show for 5 years, right? If you've been listening for a year, you know that one of our favorite places collectively as a group to watch racing is Fairbury, right? #Falls. And again, it did not disappoint. I mean, Brandon Shepherd throwing a haymaker there at the end. Wasn't he in like fifth or sixth with like 6, 7, 8 laps to go, and he comes storming, right? And it's like, yeah, he was back a ways, and he comes storming, and he found a different line. He was rolling in the middle and driving up to the cushion and getting a run off. It's like, holy shit, is he bolted? And lo and behold, he comes, puts a move on JD. JD crosses him over, takes home the win. That was definitely the race of the week. That was worth the price of admission all day long. Anything else at Illinois Speed Weeks that you guys?
Yeah, 2 nights in a row. Farmer City, same thing. Shep loses the lead to RTJ in the last 2 laps there, I believe, and it's just a heartbreaker. He led a lot of that race and didn't win it, and then he throws that slider on JD, and perhaps maybe it was a half a lap too soon, maybe. But JD, being the veteran that he is, he did such a beautiful job. He crosses him over, then he blocks the slider, lets the car ride back up the track to block the top, and I mean, not everybody's as good as JD and is able. A lot of guys would have gotten beat in that situation. It was a hell of a job by JD as well.
I'm telling you, he's in position now. I'm gonna ask you guys this, right? If you look at the Lucas Chase at the end of the year, it's almost all big tracks, right? East Bay's gone, Atomic's gone, right? So it's a lot of big tracks, right? At the end of the year in the Chase. Is Jonathan Davenport the odds-on favorite to win this deal just because of the way the schedule lays out?
I wouldn't necessarily say he's the odds-on favorite, but I think everybody thinks he's in a better position now than before the Illinois Speed Weeks, just because he's proving that he's kind of back on top of his game. Him and his crew are back on top of their game.
Well, another guy, right, that's on top of his game ever since the new crew chief came on board, right? Hudson O'Neal has been really, really good lately too. And he is putting himself in position right now to solidly, I don't know where he's at in points. I didn't look at it. I don't know what he did at Falls, but
6th place, 6 points out of the Chase.
He's in 6th. He fell back to 6th. What is it? Is Overton in 5th then, or in 4th?
Overton's 5th, Elverson's 4th.
Alverson's 4th, but only 6 points out. That's interesting, right?
No. Hear me out. Elverson is 5 points ahead of Overton and 60 again ahead of HUD.
60. So, but Huddy was back 100 or so, so he closed the gap up a little bit. So that's kind of the storyline, right? In Lucas Oil right now is who's going to lock themselves. A lot of racing to happen. We're only in mid-May, right? But who's going to lock themselves into that final 4 to be in title contention at the end of the year? Huddy making a statement here, kind of getting himself inching closer. Unfortunately for him, the race at Marshalltown last night, unfortunately, that was a Castrol race, right? Because he was really, really good there too.
Fantastic. Yeah, going back to what you were saying, that whole half mile thing at the end of the year, RTJ's a god on half miles other than Eldora, right? Moran's a god on racetracks. JD's a god on big racetracks. I don't think any of them has an advantage over the other. They're all good on half milers.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure. So Bert had a question come to him here this past week. So, on the theme of Illinois Speed Weeks, right? So let's just go late models. We'll go late models, right? If there was to be a speed week in our area, right? We'll call it Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Dakotas, kind of the Wissota / Eastern Wisconsin area. If you guys had to put together like a 4-night swing for a 4 or 5-night swing for our area speed weeks for we'll call it even super late models or whatever, what tracks would you pick and why? So Bert, since it was your idea you brought to us, why don't you go first on that? What tracks would you put on the slate for a speed weeks?
Well, I'm gonna go with to make it even 2 Eastern Wisconsin tracks and 2 Western Wisconsin tracks, and I'm basing my opinion on national races. races that have already had national drivers race at these tracks. And in eastern Wisconsin, I know you guys are gonna be surprised, but I'm going with Plymouth Dirt Track and
Can
Allegheny
I get
Speedway
out? That's what I would
in
have guessed. I'm not surprised. That was my
in
guess.
Seymour, and then travel to the western part of the state, and obviously Cedar Lake and Mississippi Thunder. Those are the two tracks I would pick.
Them are four terrible racetracks. That'd be an absolutely awful series. I mean, all four of them are premier racetracks. There's no question about it, and they've all produced really good racing. We've seen that, so I don't think you could go wrong with that. And I don't think it's that far from. I don't know where Seymour and Plymouth are in relation to. I don't know how far that is. I don't know. Would there be a travel day in between? Like you run those two, have a travel day. It's only what is it like 200 miles? Maybe it's not that terribly far, is it?
Plymouth and Seymour, yeah, they're not that far apart. You could race those back to back days, and then you could have a travel day, travel to the western part of the state if you wanted to.
There you
I
go.
mean,
There you go.
you could even, honestly, you could travel to the western part of the state after the race at night and still race the next night if you wanted to.
Tonga. How about you?
Well, to not have the same things as he had, all right, I'll go something different, right? So I guess the first one I would want to go would be the Casino Speedway out in Watertown, South Dakota. A little bull ring, that's a lot of fun. When that place can be really good. I could imagine. I mean, are we talking putting super late models on these racetracks, or are we just talking, or just how good is the track in general?
Super late models.
Oh God, yeah. So I'm going to the Casino Speedway out in Watertown, South Dakota. We've seen super late models at almost all of these tracks, other than that one. I'm going to go to the River City Speedway out in Grand Forks, North Dakota, just because another little bull ring, right? That compares closest to our Illinois Speed Week, I guess. And then I'm going to go to my hometown track, the Proctor Speedway in Duluth, Minnesota. It's on the other side of the street, but another little nice 3/8 that can provide some good racing. And then I'll go to Deer Creek Speedway just to not use MTS or Cedar Lake.
Bert. Fucking drivers would hate Chonga. That's a lot of traveling. That's a lot of traveling there, Chonga. Holy shit.
We don't care about
Jesus. Casino to Grand Forks to Proctor to Deer.
that order. Not necessarily that order.
So Bert, we're talking about Chonga here that he says, I can't even drive 30 minutes. And he wants these guys to drive 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. All right. All good racetracks, but wow, okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna use a couple. I'm gonna use one of the tracks, but I'm gonna make it more logistically make sense. So probably in the order that I would do it.
Well, I didn't know we were doing it.
Well, I mean, that kind of makes sense because they'd go up to Casino, up to Grand Forks, over to Proctor, back down to Deer Creek on the way home. That's kind of how that would make sense, that order. I'm gonna stick with that Western Riverbed theme, right? But I think I'd start out the swing at I-94 Speedway. They got it right on Friday. That was a good racetrack. That late models, Bobby Pierce said it best. You got to have a cushion. You got to have something to bang on the top to have a good race. They did. They farmed it, long show, a lot of classes, but the late model feature was highly entertaining. It was a good race, right? So when they get the moisture down in that place, it produces good racing. So I'll go I-94. Then I would head to the Norman County Raceway in Ada. When they had the World of Outlaw race there, was it last year? They had a good race there. So the Norman County Raceway in Ada. Then I would go to the River City Speedway in Grand Forks because I love that bull ring. And then I would go to a track that does not get talked about because it's literally in Siberia. I'm going to go Devil's Lake Speedway because another track that they know how to use a water truck, right? They get water down, they have a cushion, the place is absolutely wicked fast. So it would be I-94, Ada, Grand Forks, Devil's Lake, North Dakota. That would be my 4-night swing. I think all of them would be good. Bert, Bert kind of cheated because he took the premier class tracks or whatever, but I don't think you could go wrong with any of the above, to be completely honest with you. So next on the agenda here, well, sprint car action. Anything, I mean, there was a lot of sprint car racing this past week. Cole Floyd and Anthony Macri, they won the World of Outlaw races at Lincoln and Williams Grove. Rico, Corey Day, and they won the high limit races. Now, probably the biggest drama of the week, right? The posse was good. Posse actually was really, really strong this trip. The biggest drama, though, was probably the Rico deal, right? Rico and Kerry Madsen getting together, battling for the lead, and like half the field piled up. All the good cars behind him crashed, and Rico gets his spot back. Kerry Madsen done. Internet going completely bonkers about how he's a dirty driver and a hack and this, that, and the other. I thought it was a racing deal. I thought he made the commitment, and Madsen turned left. Probably didn't even know he was there. Contact was made. What do you guys think?
I would agree with that. I mean, Rico's probably not far off. If you listen to his interview, he goes, I didn't need to be that aggressive that early in the race. I had a good car, but the door was open and it started to close once I was already there and it was too late. I mean, I loved every bit of it because I picked Rico to win that race and I got my 2 points. So that was awesome. He did take out Kyle Larson in that deal, which everybody else picked. So that was awesome too. Although I did lose Sweet in the deal, but it was a fair trade-off.
So, yeah, sprint car race. Who won tonight? I suppose we're all
Rained out. Well, the high limits rained out tonight, didn't they?
High limits rained out. World of Outlaws probably already done. Yeah. So I guess we'll find out when we jump off here. So before we jump on to our pick'ems part, I did have a fan comment / question come in, and some
last night.
What's that?
You want to touch on the high limits feature? Was it Monday night or last night?
Oh, we kind of mentioned how do you put on a show.
High limits.
The high limits. We can touch on that next week. That's this week's race. We'll touch on that next week. It was essentially a photo finish. It's or not necessarily a photo finish, but Rico last lap pass on who did he pass? Peck?
Yeah, it was of Justin Peck, and it was like he was 12 car lengths behind coming down the back straightaway, and Peck just drove it down to the bottom to block the slider, and Rico just went to the top and somehow, some way pulled that off. Of course, I almost broke the floor and the furniture jumping up and down and cheering. My kids thought I was nuts because I
are
Rico for that one too, and then I got the point from Sweet in that one for. He got third, but I got the point out of him too. So I was having a party, by myself with the kids thinking I'm a lunatic.
Bert, should we start dinging him for self-sucking himself all the time? Like literally, I got this. I got it. I picked this.
Often, right?
Oh my god.
I'm not Crusher. I don't get everyone right.
So I had a fan reach out and they said Provenzino's interview at Viking was epic, right? He didn't hold back. I do this shit myself. We work hard. We built this car. We did this. We don't buy all of our speed. We built this, right? And there's a lot of late model guys, well, hell, racers in general nowadays, they don't even work on their own shit. They just drop it off, have somebody else do it. But his comment was this: are late model drivers the wide receivers of dirt late model racing? The biggest freaking diva, don't want to get my hands dirty, got to pay for speed. Oh, my car ain't working. God forbid I try to figure it out. I'm just going to go buy a different chassis, like nonstop, right? It's like the only class in all of dirt racing, right, that you hear nonstop. Oh, it's a Longhorn. Oh, it's a Rocket. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that shock package. Oh, it's Bilstein. It's a Longhorn with Bilsteins. There ain't no other freaking class in dirt racing that you don't even hear about ever, right?
And not just that, but if God forbid a racetrack actually does use water on the racetrack and they call all cars to help finish packing the track, late models, they won't even unload their cars until packing has been going on for at least 15 minutes.
For sure. And then they go out there and race and their car's turning like road graders because, oh, I can't make my shit work. It's like you have 872 adjustments on that thing, all these holes, and you can move shit everywhere. Maybe try to adjust. And it's probably all classes, but a lot of late model guys, and it's not just locally, it's a national scene and everything. They'll buy a chassis, they'll buy a car, and they'll put, the factory setup in it, and man, I can't get my shit to work. It's too tight, it's this, and this thing's a piece of shit. This MB sucks. I'm getting rid of it. It's terrible. It's the car. Them guys don't know absolutely nothing. I'm getting a Longhorn. I got a Longhorn. Well, it turns good. It got no traction. These things are terrible on the drive. I'm going to get a Rocket. And they just keep switching freaking chassis because, God forbid, they take fucking a little time and try to learn how to make their shit faster. And that's what makes me absolutely love, because there is a good number of drivers that are very hands-on, very technical, and they are on top of it, that are not relying on their chassis builder to spoon feed them information, right? I mean, let's just be completely honest. 25, 30, 40 years ago, all that information that's out there wasn't there, right? It wasn't, 40 years ago, they didn't have left rear behind, that wasn't even a thing, right? So all these drivers today are literally, they don't have to be innovative and try to learn things and how do I get speed and how do I get faster, because they're taking all the stuff that basically was put in front of them and said, here's all the information, just do that. The drivers that think for themselves are the ones that I'm fans of. So with that said, pick one, and it don't matter what class it is. When I say old school racer, they work on their own shit. If the car ain't working, they're going to do research and try to figure it out, right? Rather than just, hey, what do I do? Hey, what do I do? They're going to try to figure it out, right? Something happens at the track, they're fixing it, going back out there. What driver comes to mind that you're like, yeah, that's my guy. That I really enjoy watching that person because that's an old school racer right there. Bert, you go first. Anybody come to mind when I say that?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dan Machonsky. He races IMCA stock car in eastern Wisconsin. I mean, it's a family affair with the Machonskys. His brother Nate also races a stock car, and Dan's son Elliot also races an IMCA stock car. And I'm not sure if all their chassis are home built, but the one that Dan is racing right now is a home built chassis that they built themselves. He actually bought a new chassis a few years ago, and he looked better in the home built chassis than he did in the chassis that he bought. And so, he switched back now. So I would say him.
Changa, how about you?
Well, I guess I don't know. We already talked about it with Jeff Provenzino up north here. I'm just trying to think of someone that sticks out because I don't even, in this day and age, you don't know who's paying for it and who's doing it themselves half the time, right? My perception is you take a guy like Tim Johnson, right? This guy's working hard, building some of his own street stocks and probably does some of the work on, I think he ran an affordable Supra, maybe still does, but I picture him as one of them old school guys that, turns the wrenches, does his own setups and fabricates on the car.
Yeah, and there's a few out there, and tip of the cap to all the drivers, because in my mind, right, just my opinion is there's a difference between a true racer and a steering wheel holder, right? The racers are like, we do it all. That's few and far between. The world has changed. But I'm gonna go with the Blevins family up there in Hibbing. Mike and Mikey and Sam. They actually, they're not all in RBR cars. But they've built some of their own Midwest mods right in their shop. They are very hands-on, fabricating their own stuff, building their own bodies, doing it all. And so that's specifically a group of people that I'm going to keep a pretty close eye on this year. They got pretty darn quick. Mike Blevins in a home built chassis won the Red Clay Classic last year. Okay. So there's $40,000 B mods out there. He built a home built chassis, went and took it to him at Ashland at the Red Clay Classic. That's impressive. His boy won the Labor Day Shootout. His other boy won the Wissota Classic, right? So the Blevins family is pretty stout, and they are very hands-on, old school. Keep an eye on them this year up north. So let's jump into our pick'ems here. I don't have the overall points in front of me here, but I do know this. Coach is leading Changa, and I'm in third. Bert, you, Dano, Curtis, you're kind of battling for fourth there. You guys are right there. But the cream of the crop this past week, old Worker Bee. Keep in mind, right? Not just trucking out in the field, right? Doing the planting and all that, busy as can be. And he still had the biggest points week of all of us. Hat tip right there to Kent, Worker Bee, getting it done. This week, we're picking races. We're picking all the high limit sprint cars. One rained out tonight. We're picking World of Outlaw sprints this week. They're up in Canada. Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models at Eagle Raceway in Nebraska for 3 shows. World of Outlaw Late Models up in the Northeast. Hunt the Front Late Models in Georgia and Tennessee. And then there's 2 Wissota specials. Modified Special, Fiesta City Speedway Friday, Montevideo. And NLRA Late Model Season Opener up at the Devil's Playground, Devil's Lake, North Dakota. What race, whether it's one of those that we're picking or just something else in general, what race are you guys pretty much looking forward to most over this coming week? Changa.
Okay. Well, if I'm looking forward to anything, I'm hoping, I said the same thing last week. I'm hoping one of my home tracks opens up this week and maybe I can race if they can, find some insurance or whatever. I did hear race cars on the track at Gondik a lot of nights, so I got my fingers crossed something will happen this weekend.
Well, Mother Nature might not play nice. The weather don't look, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but the weather does not look good in the area. Let's just say that. So, but I'm with you. I would love to see our home tracks open up. Bert, how about you? What are you looking forward to this week?
Well, I mean, actually, the one I was looking forward to the most was ran last night, and that was Marshalltown, the late models at Marshalltown, and that race did not disappoint.
That place provides some really good racing. Their racing's on flow throughout the season. I believe every night's on flow. And IMCA mods, IMCA stock cars, but the late models had an absolute Donnybrook up there last night. If I said Bobby Pierce going to get the lead and get third, you'd be like, nah, not going to happen. Well, yeah, a little bit of a misstep. Doesn't happen often, but good old Hudson O'Neill and Brandon Overton snuck by him, so Bobby Pierce getting third. Okay, on the national scene, I'm going to go Eagle, because that's a bull ring as well. Changa, you and I, World of Outlaw Sprint Cars, right? On PlayStation or whatever it was, Eagle Raceway. We made a lot of laps around that place. That is a soup bowl right there. That is a absolute bull ring. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Lucas Oil gang can do over there. As far as,
well, I can't remember what track it was, but the next race that Lucas races tomorrow night, is that Eagle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Three nights at Eagle.
Because it's being promoted as a high bank, so I'm curious to see what the racing is like there.
Yeah, it's I believe it's a high bank quarter mile. It's a high bank bull ring, so it should be a banger. Locally, I am gonna go with the One to Go Show 83 car on Saturday. We're gonna go to Fairbury. One more night of regular racing next week, 4,300 to win for the stock cars down there. So he had a top 5 finish opener. He went to Peoria with the One to Go Show 83 this past week. He got 5th again. Car was pretty good. Dust Bowl. He was there, but it was I thought he kind of got screwed on a restart, but it is what it is. I guess transponders probably don't lie, I guess. But he got 5th. So a pair of top 5s on unfamiliar racetracks going down to Fairbury, stout field of cars down there. And that show we're going to the following week is actually Mars Late Models and Mars Mods, along with 4,300 to win at Fairbury. So we're going down there this weekend to see if we can sharpen the pencil a little bit, maybe turn that top 5 into a podium, maybe a win, and be ready for that following week for the big money. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So our last segment here, guys, bold predictions. So our standings right now, we keep track of correct predictions and correct percentage. Tonga is leading the way in both. Okay, cheating, but he's still winning. I guess if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But he's got 6 correct. Uper has 4. Bert has 3, and I am lap traffic here. I got 2. I got 2 correct. Percentages, Changa, you got 35.3, and the rest of us got some work to do. Now, Bert and Uper are close. Bert, you're at 27.3. Uper at 26.7. I'm down here at 18.2. Like, I'm terrible at this. I just is what it is. Okay, I'm terrible. I'm gonna have to learn how to bunt like you guys do. All right. So Changa, you had 3 come off the board this week. Not a good week. Not a good week for you. You said Brandon Shepard would have more wins at the Illinois Speed Weeks than Devin Moran and Jonathan Davenport combined. Well, combined they had 3, and Bishop had 0. So that did not happen. And then you said between the 3 WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series events, Cole Searing and Tyler Peterson would be the only drivers to win features. They won 1. Cole Searing won 1. And then you said the Pennsylvania Posse would have 0 podium finishes. Well, not only did they have a podium finish, they had a win with Anthony Macri, so that was incorrect. Bert, you had a couple come off the board as well. You said at the Illinois Speed Weeks, 75% or more of the podium drivers would be from the Illini state. No, that did not happen. But you did say this at the Structural Buildings WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series. You said all the races would be won by different drivers, and of course, Kevin Burdick, Jeff Provenzino, Cole Searing. You got that one correct. Ding, ding, ding. Uper had 2 come off the board. He said Illinois Speed Week, 66% or more of the drivers would be from Illinois. Nope. And then he said Tyler Peterson would finish on the podium all the nights of the Challenge Series this weekend and would have at least 1 win. That was a rough one. I had 3 come off the board as well. I said the Pennsylvania Posse would not find victory lane. Well, Macri won. I said Cole Searing would have 3 podiums and at least 1 win. You got a first, you got a third, and you got a 5th. So that was close but no cigar. But I did get one right here. I get dumb shit like this right. This kind of shit I get right. I said the 2 youngest drivers on the podium, their combined age would be less than Mike Anderson's age. Blake Adams, Jack Revort, significantly younger. I don't have it in front of me who got 3rd in that race. I think it was Aiden. Was it Hoffman? Was that Hoffman kid? Maybe got 3rd?
Rice Lake, yeah, Rice Lake modified. It was Aiden Hoffman, yes.
Yeah, Aiden Hoffman. Those 3 drivers' ages added together are only 4 years older combined than Mike Anderson. Mike, I'm just saying, right? The young guns are putting it to you. It is what it is. And that's why I'm sitting on the sidelines talking shit. Okay. So I did get that one right though. So we're going to end the show with this. 3 laps around the track. We're going to go Bert, Changa. I got Upers. I got mine. 3 laps around the track, racing related predictions. Bert, what say you?
I'll go World of Outlaw Late Models and say Greg Satterley will have at least 2 podium finishes against the Outlaw regulars.
The truth, Greg Satterley. At least 2 podium finishes, how you said?
Yes.
And what is there? 4 races. There's 4 races up there. Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Bedford. So Greg Satterley, at least 2 podium finishes. Odds are he'd probably be the best driver from that area. He's pretty quick up there. He's didn't he win Lucas Oil Race a couple years back up there? Pretty sure he did. Maybe more than 1. Might have won more than 1 actually.
I'm not sure. He may have.
All right, Changa. What do you got? First one.
Well, I'm going back to bunting because I'm sick and tired of getting shut out every week. So I'm going to go with the New Deal. Hudson O'Neal will make the Lucas Oil chase.
Okay. Okay. I don't know that that's necessarily a bunt.
Necessarily, but it's he's sixth in the points, needs to get to fourth. I'm going to go with it.
All right. All right. So, all right. Hudson O'Neal will make the final four. All right. So Uper, his first of his three is this. The four major series all race this weekend. When I say four major series, high limit sprints, World of Outlaw sprints, World of Outlaw late models, Lucas Oil late models. The point leaders in those series, so RTJ, Pierce, Sweet, Gravel, will all win at least one feature this week and all have at least one additional podium above and beyond that. So all four drivers at least two podiums for all of them, with one of them being wins for each one of them. That's not a bunt. So my first one here, we're going to go NLRA late models up at the Devil's Playground up in North Dakota there. The winner of the feature on Saturday will be a driver that did not finish in the top 5 in the 2024 NLRA point standings.
Oh, God. Now you want to talk about a bunt, Bert?
Huh? Well, what, you don't think Dustin Strand has a shot to win there?
You don't think Tyler Peterson's got a 50-50?
I don't know that he's going.
You say Tyler Peterson's got a chance to win.
I don't know if he's going. I don't know if maybe Chad Becker goes up there. He's been quick. Maybe Mike Gresseth, maybe.
That's more of a bunt that one of them guys wins.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, that NLRA group's pretty darn tough too. So,
Dustin Strand.
Yeah. All right, Bert. Lap number 2. What do you got?
I'm gonna go to Hunt the Front late models, and the winner of both features will be Tennessee drivers.
Okay. Tennessee, where they call home now, or they're born and raised in Tennessee?
Where they call home now.
Okay. All right. All right. Changa, your second one here.
I'm going to go to high limit sprint car racing. And I'll say our boy Rico Abreu at the end of the year will be top 2 in points and lead the series in wins.
By the end of the year, does he have to stay in the top 2, or will he crack the top 2 at some point?
No, he's going to finish the season in the top 2 in points and lead the series in wins. So I'm pushing.
And lead the series. Yeah, you're pulling a 71A and pushing that shit out until November. All right. Uper's second one, he's going to go super late model racing in the. He's going to specifically go Gopher State, Minnesota drivers. Dan Ebert will have a better average finish than both Jake Tim and Brent Larson in this week's events. So Ebert has 3 Lucas races. Tim and Brent Larson have 4 World of Outlaw races. Ebert
in there.
Huh?
You should put Sorensen in there too.
I think he was scared. I think Sorensen would have a better, off the record, I'll say Sorensen has a better average finish than all 3 of them.
I would agree.
Say. All right. My second one, I'm going to go Hunt the Front late models as well, Bert. Ricky Weiss, Jimmy Owens, Zach Mitchell. All 3 of them drivers will finish top 5 both days. At least one podium for each of those 3 drivers, and at least one win combined. So one of the wins from one of the night, at least one of the wins will be one of those 3 drivers. Ricky Weiss, Jimmy Owens, Zach Mitchell, top 5 both days, at least one podium each, and at least one of the wins is by one of those 3 drivers.
That's not a bunt.
All right, Bert, what do you got?
All right, I'm going local. I'm gonna go. I mean, we talked about this last year. Even though the drivers voted for it, and it was announced that they were gonna go with SOTA sanctioning next year. Shawano Speedway late models will not be with SOTA sanction next year.
That tells me he's got insider info.
I do not have any insider information. To me, Shawano's
we're trying to
Shawano's
have a
got it.
positive. We're trying to have a positive fucking show here. All right, you got to come on here with all your negative energy, your bullshit. We ain't having it. All right, I know you're upset that the Vikings got to play the Packers twice this year, but you don't need to take it all on with Soda Country. All right, okay. So all right, so Shawano will not be late models sanctioned by WISSOTA in 2026. I hope you're wrong, and I hope that them, Plymouth, Seymour, and all of them do, but that's a tall task. That's a tall task.
Well,
so
all three of them have to do the same thing.
for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why you'll be right.
Yeah. That pretty good odds. Pretty good odds. All right, Changa, your third and final lapper on the track here. What do you got?
I'm going to go to World Outlaw Sprint Cars, and I'm going to say Logan Schuchart podiums every race that they race up in Canada this week.
Okay. Okay.
Features,
I hope so.
Features.
Yeah, podiums every feature races.
Features. Okay.
I picked them all 3 nights. I hope you're right. I picked them. So, all right. Uper's third and final prediction. The Manitoba Missile Ricky Weiss will have 2 podiums and at least 1 win in Hunt the Front action this week. At least both nights podium and at least 1 win for Ricky Weiss. My third and final one, I'm going to go sprint car action. Okay, this weekend we got High Limit and World of Outlaws racing. Rico Abreu wins at least 1. David Gravel wins at least 1. And at least 1 win between those 2 series, right, comes from a driver that is currently outside the top 5 in that particular point standings. So Rico, Gravel, and then 1 driver that is currently outside the top 5 in points will account for at least 1 of the wins.
That's going forward. That don't count the high limits race that Rico already won, I hope.
Did he win tonight?
No, but
Monday night.
Oh, no. Yeah, that don't. Yeah, no, it is currently Wednesday night, right?
That won Outlaws tonight.
Yeah, I have no idea who won the Outlaws. In fact, here, hold on, let me take a look. Let me look here. All right, while we're looking, 5th to Jordan Thomas from Harding, Pennsylvania. 4th to the North Pole Nightmare, Bill Baylog. 3rd to Carson Macedo. 2nd to Sheldon Hodenschild. And your winner, David Gravel.
So if nobody picked Hodenschild, I got 3 points.
I think somebody did pick Sheldon. Not sure though. I'm not positive on that. I'll have to look. But that was unknowing. So Gravel got his 1 win.
Our pick is already ruined.
Yeah. So Gravel, Rico, but the wild card in this is at least 1 of the wins has to come from a driver that is outside the top 5 in the current standings in that series. That's probably going to be the wild card. So there you have it. What is that? Episode 259 in the books. Anything that we maybe didn't touch on? Any closing thoughts before we jump off here and let the
you guys. I'm sure you guys have all seen on Facebook that DRT house car deal, late model that owned by Cody Summer or whatever, where they had the 500 entrants to win the ride for the Dirt Late Model Dream, and he picked Dylan Thornton to drive that thing at the Dirt Late Model Dream, and
dilly.
You know, part of what made his decision was he was impressed by him and that other late model that he's been driving just for a short time here. He saw him make the show at Mississippi Thunder with that car, and that played a big part into what say, I want that guy in my car for the Dream. So
he's a good wheel. He's won in everything he's been in. The game changer, Dallin Murdy, had a pair of wins, or back-to-back wins in the late model too. So I'd like to see some of these young talents get some money behind them and be able to maybe come in there, and we could use. I mean, I think Dirt Late Model National Dirt Late Models is in a good place right now. But with that said, they can always have an influx of some new blood, right? I mean, the newest blood, would you say maybe in the mix right now is probably Garrett Alverson as far as like relevancy? You know, Cody Overton's kind of showed some speed, right? But it'd be nice to get, you know, Zach
Actually,
Mitchell has had some speed. Be nice to get a few newer people jump in. What's that?
I think Elverson's probably older than you think, though. I mean,
He is, but he hasn't been relevant in the dirt late model scene behind the wheel for very long, right? He's kind of a
guy like that.
right, you know, but you know, maybe Dustin Sorensen might maybe kind of, you know, get a few things going here. I mean, could we see maybe a Sam Mars jump in and run some more national stuff? It'd be kind of fun to see.
Another driver, Carson Ferguson, he's putting some good runs together.
He is. He had a couple of weeks back, he had a really, really good weekend. So there's a guy to keep an eye on as well. So as always, folks, Ryan Aho, Bert Lehman, that is Changa. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.